Hi everyone, and thank you so much for watching my channel The Witty Turtle. My name is Anvesha, and in today's video we are going to start with the question number 5, which is there in your new syllabus, and question number 33, which is there in your old syllabus. So yes, without any further delay, let's start with the class. So this question says that a bank is in the process of formulating its loan policy involving a maximum of rupees 600 million. So it says that the maximum available fund with the bank is how much? 600 million rupees, right? So whatever allocation we have to make those allocations within 600 million rupees, right? The table below gives the relevant types of loans. Bad debts are not recoverable and produce no interest received. This is very important because ultimately we have to calculate the profit or the optimality. Okay. To meet competition from other banks, the following policy guidelines have been set. Okay, so some policy guidelines are there. The first guideline says that at least 40% of the funds must be allocated to the agricultural and commercial loans. So how many types of loans are there? Here it is given that 5 kinds of loans are there which are being provided by the bank. Now, the first thing says that for agricultural and commercial loans, at least 40% of the total fund must be there. So total fund is 600 million rupees, out of which 40% must be distributed between these two. At least 40%. It can be more than 40% as well. The second guideline says that funds allocated to housing must be at least 50% of all the loans given to personal, car and housing. So out of these 3 remaining types of loans, we have to distribute the remaining 60%. So out of these 60%, whatever total amount will be there, उसमें से at least 50% of the loans must be given to housing, right? Housing को 50% मिलना चाहिए at least. Now the interest rate for all these kinds of loans are given here. Also, what is the probability of bad debt? What is the probability of the loan being bad debt has also been given here for each type of loan. Now the question says that the overall bad debts on all loans may not exceed 0.06, right? It says that the overall bad debts on all the loans, right? The entire bad debt should not exceed 0.06 probability, right? Which is 6%, right? Now, formulate a linear program model to determine optimal loan allocations. So, whenever we hear the word optimal means we have to maximize the profit. In this case, because it is a bank and the main job of the bank is to make profit, so here determine optimal loan allocation, which means how much profit the bank will make, or in what way we are supposed to make the allocation so that the bank will make optimum profit, or the bank will make maximum profit, right? So obviously out of this we can conclude that the objective is what? To maximize profit. The objective function will be what? Max z equals to whatever. Now, out of this table, you tell me what will be the profit of the bank? Bad debt is what? Bad debt is your cash outflow, right? And interest rate is your cash inflow. So how can we calculate the profit? Out of the total interest, whatever total interest amount is there, which money is coming to us, right? Which money is coming to us, उसमें से from that we have to reduce the money which is not coming to us, which is the bad debt amount, right? Here the probabilities are given, out of which we have to calculate what will be the equation for bad debts. So your objective function will be total interest minus your total bad debts, right? So yes, let's start with the solution. Yeah, so let the amount allocated to personal loan be x1, your car loan is x2, housing loan is x3, and agricultural loan is X4 and commercial loan is X5, right? In the question, we have already studied that the total available fund is how much? 600 million rupees, out of which at least 40% must be allocated to agricultural and commercial loan, and whatever is remaining, that is your 60%, out of like this entire 60% will be allocated between your personal and car and housing, out of which ये जो total होगा इसका, whatever total will be there, out of which at least 40% of this total, at least 40%, at least 50% of this total shall be allocated to the housing loan, right? Now the objective is what? To maximize profit of the bank. Okay, so I have a weird habit of writing profit as pi, so please bear with that. Now coming to the objective function. What will be the objective function? Your objective function is max z, that is your total interest minus total your bad debt. Okay, now what is your total interest amount? Your total interest amount is how much? We have to calculate that. So that will be, so for personal loan, what is the interest rate? That is 17%. 17% means 0.17. And what is the total allocation of personal loan? X1. So it will be 0.17 X1. Whatever amount we are allocating to the personal loan, interest उसी पर ही मिलेगा, right? So interest will be charged on this particular amount. So 17% interest rate. So this will be 0.17 X1. Now coming to the interest rate of car, which is 14%. It will be 0.14 X2. Now coming to the interest rate of housing, which is your 0.11 X3, then 0.10 X4, then 0.13 X5, right? I hope this is clear. This is your total interest amount. From this interest amount, we have to reduce the total bad debt. So bad debt is given to us in probabilities. Now bad debt will be charged on which amount? It will be charged on your amount or the fund which is allocated to different loans. So your bad debt will be how much? If in the case of personal loan, the bad debt probability is 0.1, or we can say 10%. So what will be the bad debt? How much will be the bad debt amount? 0.1 X1, right? Now for car, what is the probability of bad debt? 7%. So it will be 0.07 X2, then 0.05 X3, 0.08 X4, then 0.06 X5. So after this, we have two X1s. One is 0.17 X1 and one is 0.1 X1. So in this case, we can reduce this. This is a very simple mathematical equation which I hope you all can solve. So after solving this, the final equation that we will get is 0.07 X1 plus 0.07 X2 plus again 0.06 X3. This is 0.11 minus 0.05. Next is your 10 minus 8. That will be 0.02 X4. And lastly, how much is this? 0.07 X5, right? So this is your final objective function. After objective function, what is the next thing that we have to write? That is your constraint function, right? Constraint function. Now, what will be the first constraint? What is the first constraint? That is given in the first line of the question, which talks about the maximum fund available, right? So the maximum fund available to us is how much? 600 million rupees. And we have to manage all x1, x2, x3, x4, x5 like what is the total amount, what is the sum of all these x1, x2, x3, x4, x5? That is 600 million rupees. So your first constraint function will be x1 plus x2 plus x3 plus x4 plus x5. All these things should be less than or equal to 600 million rupees, because we have only that much of amount and we have to manage all these things in between that amount, right? So the first constraint is on the total loan amount, which is your 600 millions, right? Coming to the second constraint. The second constraint is the guideline. There are two guidelines which are set there. What is the first guideline? It says that at least 40% of the funds must be allocated to the agricultural and commercial loan. At least 40%, right? So, वो क्या हो जाएगा? Okay, so tell me, what is the amount allocated to agricultural and commercial loan? x4 and x5, right? So all this amount is how much? It should be, it says at least, that means we can allocate more than 40% also. So x4 plus x5 should be more than or equal to 0.4 multiplied with 600 millions. Or we can also write it as x4 plus x5 should be more than or equal to 0.4 into x1 plus x2 plus x3 plus x4 plus x5, right? I hope this is clear. In the book it is given as this. Now coming to the third constraint. The third constraint is on the fund allocated to housing must be at least 50% of all the loans given to personal, car and housing. So ये क्या हो जाएगा? This will be your okay. So housing, what is the allocation of housing loan? X3, right? Now this X3 should be more than or equal to 50%. 50% is 0.5. 50% of personal, car and housing. So personal is x1 plus car is x2 and housing is x3, right? At least, whenever we hear the word at least, in that case more than or equal to sign will be used, right? Coming to the last constraint, which says that your bad debts. It talks about your bad debts. So what is the probability of bad debts? For personal loan, it is 0.1 x1 plus 0.07 x2 plus 0.05 x3 plus 0.08 x4 plus 0.06 x5. And what is the constraint here? The constraint says that the overall bad debts on all loans may not exceed 0.06, which means all the bad debts, the total of the entire bad debts should be less than or equal to 0.06. It should be less than or equal to 0.06. Okay, I hope this is clear. Now, this is the constraint on limit of overall bad debts. And lastly, what do we write in every question? At the end, we write the non-negative function, which says that x1, x2, x3, x4, x5, all these things are not negative, which means they all are more than or equal to 0, right? I hope this question is solved now. Now coming to the question number 6 of new syllabus and question number 34 of old syllabus, which says that the annual handmade furniture show and sales occurs next month, okay? And the School of Vocational Studies is planning to make furnitures for sale. There are 3 woodworking classes, okay? So whatever furniture you will make, all those furnitures have to go through all these 3 classes. Year 1, Year 2, Year 3 at the school, and they have decided to make 3 styles of chairs A, B and C. Each chair must receive work in each class and the time in hours for each chair in each class is given. Okay, so it says that you have to manufacture 3 kinds of chairs, and all these 3 kinds of chairs have to undergo all these 3 classes. And every chair will spend how much time in each year, that is also mentioned here, right? Now, the question again says that in the next month there will be 20 hours available in the first year class, 160 hours available in the second year class, and 100 hours available in the third year class to produce chairs. The teacher of the woodworking class feels that a maximum of 40 chairs can be sold at the show. So it says that a maximum of 40 chairs, which means like out of all these A, B and C, maximum 40 chairs will be sold. The teacher has determined that the profit from each type of chair will be rupees 40 from chair A, from type B it will be 35, and from type C it will be 30, right? The question further says that formulate a linear programming model to determine how many chairs should be produced to maximize the profit. Okay, now let's start with the solution. This is a very easy question, so we can do it. So whenever you find this kind of questions in the exam, it is better to make a table like this. So in this table, everything is clearly mentioned, like how much hour is required for each chair in each year, and also what is the total hours available for every year, and what is the profit you are expecting from each kind of chairs, right? The profits are mentioned here. The total available classes are mentioned here, right? Now, let the chairs produced of A, B and C type be X1, X2 and X3, right? So we have taken an assumption that the number of chairs produced under type A, type B and type C are X1, X2 and X3. So now in this question, what will be our objective function? The objective is to maximize profit, and the profit amount is given to us here. So for type A, what is the profit amount? 40x1 plus 35x2 plus 30x3. This is our max z, right? This is our objective function. Now, what is the constraint here? The constraint is there on the availability of hours, right? Availability of hours. Now, in the first year, how many type A, like how many hours are required to manufacture type A chairs? That is your 2 hours, right? So this will be the first constraint function is 2x1 plus 3x2 plus 2x3, and all these things should be less than equal to 120 hours, because here the total is how much? Total hours available with us in the year 1 is 120 hours. So everything should be less than 120 hours, right? Total घंटे ही अपने पास इतने हैं, so we cannot exceed that limit. We cannot add more hours. So whatever work we have in the first year, we have to complete all those work within the assigned time limit, right? Similarly, for the second year, how much it will be? 4x1 plus 3x2 plus x3. All these things should be less than or equal to 160 hours. Now coming to the third year it says 3x1 plus 2x2 plus 4x3. All these things should be less than or equal to 100 hours. Less than or equal to 100 hours, right? Now in the last we have to provide a non-negative function, which is x1, x2 and x3. All these things are more than or equal to 0, right? So this is all about your question number 6. Now another thing you might get confused, that the teacher, in the question it is given that the teacher of the woodworking class feels that a maximum of 40 chairs can be sold at the show. So this particular information is not relevant, because in this case we have to determine how many chairs should be produced to maximize profit. So whatever the teacher feels, that is immaterial. So do not get confused in the examination, right?